Caitlin Clark destroys in day 2 of Team USA camp, looking like the best player in the world as usual.
So here's what just went down at Team USA practice. Caitlin Clark walked in and absolutely torched everyone, with Angel Reese watching it all unfold. This wasn't some friendly scrimmage or easy comeback session. This was Clark making it crystal clear that the bar just got raised significantly higher. Every single newcomer in that gym suddenly understood what elite really looks like. And this happened after months of people questioning everything about her situation. Questions about Team USA, about her physical condition, about her recovery, about whether all those struggles from that choppy season were going to follow her around. Clark opened up about how dealing with injuries made her feel cut off from everything, and how the problems just kept piling up one after another. She admitted feeling anxious walking into that camp, but the moment she got her hands on the basketball during warm-ups, everything felt right again.
I mean, honestly, I feel like when I touched the basketball to start warming up before the practice even started, that's probably when I felt pretty comfortable. But I mean, I've worked so hard. Like, I haven't taken a break since, honestly, since the beginning of the WNBA season, with just all my rehab and getting back to where I wanted to be, and then getting even better. So that's been kind of my focus. And, this has kind of been my next thing that I've been working for since our season ended, and just really thankful for, the training staff and player development and everybody that has kind of been there with me. They haven't taken a break either, because they invest a lot of time and they want me to be successful. So I think for myself, like, it's not proving it to yourself again, but it's just that feeling. And I think it just made me smile quite a bit. Like, I really did kind of feel like myself out there and just continuing to get my lungs back. But I felt like I was moving really well, so it was pretty satisfying.
Practice officially started, and Team USA got introduced to the version of Caitlin Clark that operates at breakneck speed, with complete control. Not panic speed, calculated speed. Coach Carol Lawson summed it up with one straightforward observation. She said Clark looked sharp on offense and defense.
She's great.
Yeah.
Got a great personality. Works hard in the practices. Wants to be good. Coachable. Just all the things you would expect from a good young player.
Now, that simple statement doesn't even begin to explain what actually happened. Everyone had their eyes glued to her first few possessions. They needed to see if that explosive first step was still there. Watch Clark come off that dribble, handoff from Aaliyah Boston, and attack the corner like someone just hit the accelerator. She's driving downhill before the defense can even react properly. Help rotates over, and she instantly fires a perfect pass straight to Jackie Young's hands. This is exactly what makes her so lethal. It's not only those ridiculous logo threes, it's the pace, the aggression, the way she makes you play her style, at her speed, whether your team is ready for it or not. And Sue Bird was standing right there, taking it all in. Bird holds the managing director position for this camp, so when she's getting visibly excited about what she's seeing, that tells you everything you need to know.
She's a hard worker because of what she's been able to accomplish, but until you see that there's no wasted movements, no wasted reps, no wasted anything, you just have such a level of respect for how she goes about her work every day. And understanding the spotlight that she's on, understanding the weight that she carries because of who she is. And I've said this before, like, she's literally like Taylor Swift 2.0.
Word coming out of camp was that Bird couldn't contain her reaction while Clark was dictating tempo, knocking down contested threes, and developing instant chemistry with Boston that looked like they'd been starting together for years. That chemistry development is the part people aren't talking about enough. You could watch it happen in all the small details. The timing on backdoor cuts, the way Boston sets screens and rolls because she knows that pass is coming exactly when it needs to. The way Clark rewards good movement, suddenly other players are sprinting through lanes because they trust she'll find them every time. Then those practice clips hit social media and everything exploded. There's this sequence where Clark throws a no-look pass behind her back, sees Nara Sabali coming to set a screen, splits it perfectly and gets all the way to the basket. Zero hesitation whatsoever. But then came the sequence that had everyone hitting replay. Kelsey Plum comes off the screen, kicks it back out, and Clark buries the three. Very next possession, Clark pushes it up court. Another three. Then she comes off yet another screen and drills another three. 3 consecutive decisions. 3 shots that basically announced, I'm not here to take my time with anything, and this isn't just about scoring numbers. This camp is designed around understanding roles, building trust, figuring out who can control the team when everything gets chaotic. In those clips, you see Clark playing defense, moving her feet well and making the road pass before the defense even realizes it needs to rotate. That's exactly why the reaction was so powerful. Because it wasn't flashy, it was composed, it looked like complete control. And when one player demonstrates that level of command, it completely changes what everyone else is competing for. Which leads us directly to Angel Reese. Reese brings legitimate value to any roster. She attacks the boards, she brings that physical presence, she competes hard. She can contribute to any team if they use her skill set properly. But this particular camp operates like a pressure cooker, because the entire vibe revolves around tempo and floor spacing. Lightning quick decisions, guard play that warps the floor, big players that screen hard, sprint in transition, and finish strong. So when Clark is orchestrating everything, every other player gets evaluated based on whether they complement that approach. The reports coming out of camp have been pretty direct. Sources said Clark clearly outperformed the other newcomers, Reese included. They said the coaching staff appeared more impressed with Clark's team-first impact than with individual highlight moments. That doesn't mean Reese lacks talent. It means the competition is tighter than anyone wants to acknowledge. There are limited roster spots available. There are limited touches to go around. And when you're the new player, you don't get the luxury of time to figure things out. You get brief opportunities to prove yourself. One comment from the camp coverage really stood out. It mentioned that Reese emphasized how players got selected based on their ability to help the team win. That's absolutely accurate. But immediately after that, the discussion shifted to fit and system compatibility. Can Reese's style thrive when the ball is moving constantly and the pace is relentless? Can she stay on the court if the lineup demands perfect spacing? Can she dominate in a role that wasn't specifically designed around her strengths? That's the real tension here. Because Caitlin Clark doesn't just put up points, she accelerates the entire roster's pace. If you're slow to react, you get left behind. If you don't make hard cuts, you don't get rewarded with touches. But here's the angle most people are completely missing. This camp isn't only evaluating players, it's also evaluating coaches. Sue Bird made it clear that the current court coaches are temporary and that final assistant coaching positions get decided much closer to the World Cup. In other words, people on the sideline are auditioning just like everyone else. So the real question isn't just whether Caitlin is back to full strength. It's about who's designing the system. Are they maximizing Clark's pace and court vision, or are they trying to force her into some predetermined game plan? Based on what we just witnessed, the answer seems pretty obvious. If Caitlin Clark is healthy, you hand her the keys. You let her control the tempo. You let her elevate everyone around her. So now Team USA faces a decision. They can embrace what's clearly working and construct everything around Clark's style of play. Or they can try to control it and force her into some restrictive framework that never suited her anyway. And the next scrimmage is going to reveal exactly which direction they're headed. Pay attention to the rotation patterns. Watch who's closing out possessions. Watch who touches the ball when the play actually has consequence.
Look like day 2 of USA team basketball has begun. Caitlin Clark is still in the midst, and women's basketball is definitely back.
In yesterday's episode, we talked about Team USA camp that's currently happening at Duke University, and the biggest news from this camp is that Caitlin Clark is 100% healthy. She's back on the court. She's playing 5v5.
Team USA's second day of practice footage just became available, and Caitlin Clark looks transformed. Not in some exaggerated social media way, transformed in the fundamentals. The pace appears more controlled, the footwork looks sharper, the shots are releasing with better rhythm. But the weird thing isn't what we're seeing from Durham. It's what we're not seeing across social media platforms. The buzz around this entire camp has been surprisingly muted, and that should concern the WNBA way more than any missed shot attempts. Day 2 provides better camera angles and more repetitions to analyze. You can sense the intensity level. You can see how locked in the atmosphere is. Every cut has purpose. Every pass is crisp and intentional. And immediately, Paige Bueckers jumps off the screen. Paige is absolutely living in that mid-range area. 1 or 2 dribbles, rise up, nothing but net. People are watching these clips and comparing her to a young Diana Taurasi. That's an incredible compliment, but you can understand why they're making that connection.
In the WNBA, we got Paige Beckers fans being just so petty and bogus over one little shot she made over Caitlin Clark. And the thing is, you guys are making this a war when we love Paige. We think Paige is a great player. But y'all starting a war that don't need to be started. Put the pettiness down.
But here's where things get interesting. The actual highlights look impressive, but the engagement numbers around those highlights tell a different story. This roster reveal and these practice clips should have turned into a social media celebration. Instead, we got something much quieter.
Got to see the quote-unquote young and turnt team play together in training camp. We got to see the lineup of Paige Beckers, Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Sonia Citron, and Angel Reese. And it is one of those things where if you guys are watching, so I'll talk a little more about the game. My guess is that like you added Kiki, you added Rickea Jackson to this team. Cam Brink was put on the older.
It feels muted.
And this isn't just speculation or gut feeling. Even the way people are discussing it sounds completely different. Day 1 got described as solid, but it was immediately followed by comments like, "I was expecting way more buzz around this." That reaction tells you everything you need to know. When you finally get a mainstream opportunity, solid isn't nearly good enough. You want it to be loud, you want casual fans debating lineups. You want highlight accounts flooding timelines, you want comment sections arguing about who deserves starting positions. But right now, it feels like this camp is mainly being followed by the same dedicated fans who were already invested. And this entire offseason functions as a crucial test. It's going to answer one harsh reality. Do people show up for women's basketball in general, or do they specifically show up for Caitlin Clark? Tons of fans keep pointing to the exact same trend. Caitlin Clark games regularly hit around 1 million viewers, but games without her presence can drop much closer to the league's traditional numbers, somewhere around 400,000, and that difference is absolutely enormous. It doesn't mean the league is struggling, but it definitely means the league remains heavily dependent on individual stars. Now let's get back to the footage, because Caitlin genuinely does look different out there. When people mention that, I think they're referring to how settled she appears. Watch her movement without the ball. She's not racing around like she needs to prove her worth. She's flowing into open space and processing the floor ahead of time. And when she shoots, the foundation looks more solid, feet planted, balanced, straight up, clean release. That improvement matters significantly, because she recently mentioned that the rehabilitation process took longer than she anticipated. But she's feeling completely back to a... That's not just about physical health, that's about mental confidence, and a confident Caitlin makes smarter decisions, not just quicker ones. So why is the internet treating this like just another random practice session? There are 3 possible explanations. First, it's the off-season period. Casual fans have moved on to other things. Second, it's practice footage. People want actual games, not drill work. But third, and this is the uncomfortable reality, a significant portion of that audience might have been there for Caitlin specifically, not for the sport itself. If that's accurate, the league's strategy becomes pretty clear. There's also this strange contradiction happening. This Team USA group has more depth than ever before. It's not a one-woman show anymore. That should be positive for everyone, but it can also dilute the attention and focus. A casual fan tunes in, sees 10 different stars, and thinks, who exactly am I supposed to follow here? So the league needs to simplify the narrative, give people clear rivalries, defined roles, compelling reasons to care. Caitlin as the facilitator, Paige as the clutch performer, veterans defending their legacy, young players trying to take over. It has to develop more stars, more storylines, and more reasons to stay engaged when Caitlin isn't the only headline. Team USA needs to feel like a major event, not just a nice highlight clip, and that connects to the much bigger pressure situation. The CBA negotiation. The collective bargaining agreement discussions are looming over everything right now. Players are demanding better travel conditions, better compensation, and fair revenue distribution. Owners point to financial realities and argue the business still needs more time to develop properly. And the media rights money sits right in the middle of that tension. The figure being discussed is approximately $2.2 billion over 11 years, which works out to roughly $200 million annually. Players look at that number and say, we deserve our fair share immediately. Owners look at that same number and say, we still have to convert that into actual profit margins. Both perspectives have merit, but the one outcome nobody can survive is a work stoppage that destroys all this momentum. Caitlin essentially said exactly that in public. She called this the most important moment the WNBA has ever experienced, and she emphasized it cannot be ruined. She also said, fight for what you deserve, but you absolutely have to play basketball, because the actual product is what fans come to see. That's the reality of the attention economy. Fans don't fall in love with contract negotiations. They fall in love with games, with moments, and with pressure situations. So here's the real suspense of this entire camp situation. Team USA will probably dominate their competition, but the much bigger question is whether international games can bring back the attention the WNBA season created. Because if these games pull that casual audience back in, the league is genuinely growing. But if the engagement remains low, even when the stakes are legitimate, the league has a completely different challenge. It's not a basketball talent problem. It's an audience retention problem, and day 2 is already providing hints about that reality. Caitlin looks more composed. Paige looks unstoppable. The roster looks absolutely loaded, so the basketball quality isn't the concern. The concern is whether the world continues caring when it's not being constantly reminded to care.